I hear a lot of people say that photography actually either cures or treats their anxiety, and I guess it would be true to an extent with yourself, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah. So it was just this process of like gradually exposing myself more and more to the unknown.
If you're watching this, I don't know, a year to 18 months after this was made, you'll hopefully be saying COVID-19. Remember that. Whew. I'm glad that's gone. Here's a film, actually a social distance hangout, that was made as lockdown commenced in many parts of the world during 2020 with a photographer, author and fellow storyteller whose work you're seeing on screen right now. Gabrielle Motola photographs respected musicians. She makes street portraits despite her initial fears and anxiety around connecting openly with those she shoots. And she mentors others how to do that too. Her book, An Equal Difference, is as much philosophy and sociology as it is about photography in the beautiful country of Iceland. If one thing Reset means and meant to me, it was, and has been, about slowing down. And rather than soundbite mentality that sees me usually trying to close an interview before it's really even begun, this is a meander in many respects. You'll hear about mindfulness and meditation alongside our appreciation of whisky, isolation and cold showers, approaching strangers for portraits, handling rejection, pushing through barriers, charging for your work unashamedly, working from home, making books and playing with your food. So meet Gabrielle, photographer, author, storyteller, and someone you might like to hang out with too. So weird. We Gabrielle, we're going to talk about mental health for the Fujicast podcast, and I think it makes more sense that this just now turns into some kind of photography hangout. Yeah?
Sure.
So let me ask first of all how you're feeling about this, because we're going to get on to the fact that you do suffer with stress and anxiety, but we'll get onto that in a moment. But so how is this affecting you at the moment?
This is what exactly? Because there's lots of thises. This interview. There's the coronavirus situation. Yeah. Do you mean that?
Yeah, well, I mean the coronavirus. Yeah, the situation. Because actually, you're doing some homeschooling as well, aren't you?
Well, yeah, my godchildren are out, and we're trying to figure out a strategy now. I think I might have to go into like self-isolation for 7 days before I go over there again, and we're just going to reset. And then I go over there and live with them and help homeschool these kids. But we haven't decided yet. I mean, the information is changing so fast. So I'm just keeping a low profile, and I have good days and bad days like everybody. This morning wasn't great, but I didn't get a lot of sleep, and sleep is paramount to mental health.
And why weren't you sleeping?
Because I was up talking late at night, drinking wine and having a nice time. So it's about moderation. I did buy a case of wine 2 days ago from my local before they shut. They were very grateful. And it's great wine.
I tell you what, it's the only thing that seems to be. You can't buy bread, you can't buy eggs. I might have to live over the next 3, 4, 5 months, whatever this turns out to be, on pickled onions, and it's just going to be a strange diet.
You need to take care of your body. Like, you have to eat a good diet. That's the other thing. It's like food is. So for me, it's like I have to sleep. I have to eat well. I take vitamin supplements. Omega-369 is crucial for me. I take vitamin D3, 10,000 IUs a day. I take a multi, zinc, magnesium, calcium. And my brother, who's a doctor, would say that you can get this all from your food. But I think the way that our food production is gone, I don't know how much nutrition is in our food anymore.
Yeah, that's a whole podcast in itself, isn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, but sleep, food, substance is low. Ideally none. I went 9 months last year without drinking any alcohol, and I absolutely felt better for it.
Yeah.
But the problem is I really love alcohol. I love wine. I love whiskey.
Yeah. Oh, the back of you'd love this studio, because at the back of the studio, you can't see it on the screen so easily, but there's a good stash of whiskey here.
Oh, what kind?
Well, look, I've got. They're not very peaty. I'm not very good with peaty whiskey. Do you like peaty whiskies?
I used to be a big Talisker and Lafroig fan, and I kind of went off the peaty.
Yeah. What have I got here? I've got some. Oh, most people when they mention a whiskey that I've got here mention the Dalmore.
Dalmore's all right. I like that. I'm a Dalwhinnie 15 fan.
Oh yeah, I know. I've got Dalwhinnie.
It's my favorite at the moment. I I like a Glenmorangie. I really like a Kalila.
Did you mention you didn't mention Balvenie, did you? Balvenie?
Yep, Dalwhinnie 15 vanilla. So nice.
Yeah.
Not vanilla as in vanilla boring, as in vanilla finish.
But then I've also got the one. Is it? I'm not sure I should mention this for any whiskey connoisseurs, but I've also got Hague Club.
I don't know that one.
No, you'd like it, but it's if anybody really knows their whiskies, they'd probably turn their nose up.
Have you ever had cachaça, like proper Brazilian aged 50-year-old cachaça?
No, what's that like?
Oh, it's incredible.
Amazing.
It tastes like a mix between a fine whiskey and a fine tequila.
Makes you hanker for a far-flung beach. Latin influence, obviously. Whiling away a few hours talking of decadent artisan times as a windless horizon finally masks the sun. A tenuous travel reference taking me to An Equal Difference, Gabrielle Motola's book. Over the course of 3 years, Gabrielle made more than a dozen trips to Iceland, photographing and speaking with people across all sectors of Icelandic society, from music and science and health to education, law and business. An Equal Difference takes inspiration from a country that's ranked first for gender equality for the past 7 consecutive years, according to the World Economic Forum Gender Global Gap Report. I find myself smiling when I feel, should I be smiling today? This feels like the grief. It feels like the grief that I felt when my father passed on. In that you spend, and I was working on the radio at the time, Gabrielle, and I used to go in and do what was supposed to be a happy wacky breakfast show, and so I'd be feeling a kind of a guilt complex for smiling or laughing, and that's exactly what it feels like at the moment. But it almost feels like a defense mechanism as well.
It is. It's totally a defense mechanism. I mean, laughter is like a tension release. So like there's a lot of tension. And if you don't laugh, you're just holding all that tension in. And I think that's one of the things that's a key for mental health is like when you feel like you can't tell anybody and you can't be and everything, you're like second guessing every natural impulse you have. I mean, that's incredibly stressful and anxiety making, and just let it out. Like I've been watching comedy. I've been looking at clips that friends have been sending me. I'm engaging, and I got off the Discord grade session I had yesterday, and I was tense because it was like an hour and 15 minutes of talking, and not a lot of people were talking because people are shy. And it's like a teacher in a room. It's like the worst thing you can have is silence. You don't know if anyone is, and it's like you don't know if anyone's enjoying this or taking it in. There's no feedback. So it was tense, and I got off and I watched these clips my friend sent of this purple puppet comedian. I forget his name, but it was perfect. It just broke all the tension.
Yeah.
I think laughter is incredibly important, and all this, like, it's not appropriate because your father just died. Oh, I mean, it's not appropriate? Says who? Like, example, I took my godchildren to Wagamama's on Saturday for lunch, and my youngest one was playing with her food. She's 7.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if it was her sister who's 11 or me who said, "Don't play with your food." And then I suddenly thought, wait, why not? Like, actually, why would I stop her from playing with her food just because we think it's rude? Play with your food, be creative. I just said, go ahead, Sil, play with your food. And she carried on playing with her food. She was stuffing chicken bits into her little bao bun because it's like pillow and soft, and it was, she was playing with the texture of it. And then she just ate it. She didn't play with her food and leave it. And then I thought, like, what harm was that? And if we shut down those processes in children, which we do all the time, and we do in ourselves, we're just training ourselves to stop ourselves from being normal or natural. And I think that's where the schisms come in. That's where the darkness enters.
Let's talk about this mindfulness then, because it's only about 3 weeks. So I'm hardly going to I don't want to sound evangelical about this, but I started doing a lot of breathing exercises, and that, I tell you what, that's been a godsend the last couple of weeks in particular. Breathing exercises. I'm following this Wim Hof technique. You may have heard of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I was just looking at him this morning. I know Wim Hof. I discovered him when I was in Iceland and doing the book.
Oh, well, they call him the Iceman, don't they?
I was in Iceland when I found him, but it was one of this. It was a mental health advisor, Hedin, who turned me on to him.
Well, that and meditation. Now, I learned meditation a long time ago. I went to learn transcendental meditation.
Ooh, I want to do that.
Yeah, TM.
I hear that's the TM is like for the ADHD people.
Is it?
That's what I've heard.
Wow. Okay.
I heard that TM is actually really good if you're a very hyperactive person. You've got a very hyperactive mind. I was never diagnosed,
right,
but I certainly have some of the characteristics of ADHD or ADD.
Well, TM then, I mean, that's you talk about mindfulness, that's pulling back a mantra into your mind all the time. And I've found actually that over the last couple of weeks, the Wim Hof technique, breathing technique, and the meditation, and making that part of, because I think that's one really important thing at this time, is to give yourself a timetable in a day. You're talking about homeschooling the kids, and I think having some sort of structure is really, really important. And if this becomes some sort of elongated school holiday for the kids, then I think that'll be bad for them, and I think that'll be bad for us. And certainly myself, now I'm making sure I get up in the morning at a particular time, do my breathing, do the meditation, go out for a walk.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think structure, which I'm generally not a fan of, I think it is really helpful, but also I think we can get obsessed with structure, especially in this country. I find everything is like, we must control this now, and we must do the right thing, and we must be correct, and we must be British about it. And I find that can be actually really a big deficit to your mental health, because sometimes, especially if you're not feeling well, you can't. I've had periods of time when I can't get out of bed. I can't take a shower. I just can't.
Yeah.
And the more I try and force myself, the worse I feel.
Yeah.
So I've tried to find a place in myself to just allow. And mindfulness is one of those things that helps. It's so simple. I did it right when you said it. I just became aware of my body on the chair. I became aware of how my feet were crossed. I put them on the floor. I can feel my feet touching the floor. I just put my mind into my body instead of on the worry about, am I doing this right? You know,
and TM works very, very much in that way. The other thing I've been doing from the Wim Hof technique is that cold shower thing in the morning. Have you ever tried that?
Yeah, I do it every morning, almost every morning.
You do?
I go.
Wow.
I go cold water swimming whenever I can. I haven't been in a while. I stayed away from the ponds during this because I didn't trust the freshwater ponds, like in an outbreak. Even when we're hearing about it from China, I had a couple of offers to go up to the ladies' pond, and I just didn't. I got sick last time I went to the ladies' pond because there was an algae bloom, and they had a warning out, and I didn't take too much. I didn't get it in my mouth, but nonetheless, it somehow got to me, and I was going on tour with Amanda Palmer, and I had left the next day, and I had tummy troubles. First day on tour wasn't fun.
Not the best time to get it.
Cold water showers, cold water swimming in showers. Every morning when I get into the shower, I start it on freezing.
You start on freezing? Oh no, I'm not that developed.
It took me a while. In Iceland, I used to go to every pool in Iceland more or less has a cold water tank that's between 2 and 5 degrees Celsius. So I used to get maybe 2 is too low. I think so. I used to get into the tank. I remember the first time I stepped into one and I just jumped right out. It took me a while to build up resilience, and eventually I was doing 3 minutes at a time in them. And that was before I went and photographed this gentleman who practices it himself in a frozen lake in the middle of Borgarnes in November.
Yeah. So I've been watching a bit of YouTube, quite a lot. I've been sort of disappearing down rabbit holes of YouTube over the last couple of days, which is good and bad, I suppose. But
let's not judge that.
Yeah, well, yeah, it seems to be working for me. It's working for me.
It is, man.
Levi Allen is a channel I sometimes watch on YouTube. He's a photographer, and he said, look, now is a great time to serve people with your time, with your encouragement, and with the resources that you have to spare. And I guess it is. There's a lot of people, though, that feel a bit awkward about the commercialism during this period. And we were talking about this off air, where you said, no, you shouldn't feel embarrassed about commercialism. And your Patreon is still running, for example.
It is. Of course. I mean, I think I think this is an example of how we're so out of balance in the world. Everything's got to be black or white, binary. Somehow we go from capitalism and screwing each other to nothing. I mean, there's a middle ground. And my Patreon is still running, and there are people joining, and people are at all different kinds of financial and economic levels of difference in our world. And some people can afford to pay $5 a month, and some people can do $55 and more, and some people can do $1. $1 a month is not a lot of money to ask for somebody to pay to get access to a whole community, a network, and to my time to serve people and share my, all the work that I've done that I can, share with other people to help them unlock themselves the next step and help them teach themselves. So I think it's a good thing in the world to be thinking about moderate commercialism, fair commercialism. I do think at this time, I think if you're giving your time and it's valuable to people, I think they won't mind paying $1 or $5 or whatever it is that they can afford. It's up to them to be in that community, to help not only be there, but to help support you to create it. It's an exchange. So when I first started Patreon, it took me 2 years to come around to the idea of doing it, because I thought, it's like begging. But it's not. They're not putting money in my hat. They're out of guilt, or maybe some are, but it's an exchange. They're getting value. I've had plenty of people tell me that I help them. I help them understand their process. I help them develop, helping them get over their fear of approaching people on the street, which is helping them in ways that they didn't expect, just like it's helping me in ways that I didn't expect. And I think that the whole world really needs to revise our economic system. And this focus, this endless bleeding on about the economy. The economy is driven by human beings. And if they're not healthy, how can the economy be healthy?
Let's talk about mental health then. Because that was the reason originally we were going to talk for a mental health special for the FujiCast podcast, and now it seems that a hangout seems more appropriate, and I hope that we'll do more hangouts in the next couple of months. That'd be fun, and you've got such a story to tell as well. But your own mental health and anxiety is for a lot of people who are not so familiar with you or your work, might find it a little bit surprising that you're anxious about taking photographs of strangers in the street. But you are, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not like...
But you're a street photographer.
A sociopath. I have a lot of empathy.
Yeah. So how does that work then? How have you worked through that process of facing your anxiety and your fears about photographing people?
Well, I've thought about it for a really long time and done nothing. That's number one. And then I did something. I mean, I've always photographed people on the street. Like I started as early as I can remember, but particularly started in like 2005-06 in Broadway Market, where I was on the Saturday. I had a stall when Broadway Market first opened of photographs, and I would photograph people, anyone who would stop for me. And then I started doing it on the corner outside my friend Rupert's bar off Broadway. And I set up a backdrop. It was very Richard Avedon wannabe, and I see that now, and I'm a little embarrassed about that. But you've got to. I think you copy people when you start. You gravitate towards what you like, and you should emulate it until you can move on yourself and your taste develops. It's a good safety mechanism to copy someone. I think it's great. I don't mind being copied. That's fine.
I hear a lot of people say that photography actually either cures or treats their anxiety. And I guess it would be true to an extent with yourself, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, so it was just this process of like gradually exposing myself more and more to the unknown, to strangers. And it was, I guess, maybe lucky that I don't think it's lucky. I think just most people are nice and kind. And it was just this process of, it's almost like, they treat arachnophobia by gradually exposing you to safe, controlled situations where you can reestablish new trust pathways in your mind and have new experiences. And of course, going out on the street is anything but safe or controlled. But I, did it gradually and one person at a time. And I get rejected all the time by people, but not as often as you think. And I like the rejections, because they teach me that it's not about me, and it stings, but I get over it. And that training, that part of me, is really serving me well in my life. And it's just one of those things where you think about it. It's like diving off a diving board. Sometimes if you've ever been on a 10 meter or even a 5 meter platform, it's terrifying when you get up there.
I've never got that high.
Oh, it's terrifying. You climb that, down a 10 meter, you climb that thing and you get to the top and there's no way you're going to jump. There's just no way. So you come back down. So that's the day you didn't do it. And you just keep getting up and getting up and getting up. And then one day you jump. And it's horrifying, and you survive. And then you go, well, okay, that was horrifying, but I can do that again. And then you do it again, slightly less horrifying. Now it's starting to get a little bit exciting. Now you're starting to realize that mixed in with all the anxiety and fear is excitement. And then it's just a gradual process of taking it easy with yourself. It's that line you have to learn of like how far to push, how far to pull. And the more I go out on the street and photograph people, the more I've just become comfortable with the discomfort of it.
Now, I went out on this is going back 3, 4, 5 years maybe. Went to Daytona, and I decided to make a set of photographs about the people that I met as I walked around the streets of Daytona. I'd never approached photography like that before. Everything I've done in terms of portraits is the safety of a wedding or a portrait session or a commercial portrait session where permission's being given between two parties. So actually going up and asking people for their photograph. The first guy that I went to said no straight away, and I thought, oh, this is going to be a long haul. I didn't give myself a certain number in a day. Do you do that? Do you give yourself a number of people that you're going to approach or situations you're going to be in?
Nope.
No.
No. I just go with it. Like the only thing I do is I say I'm going to go out and do this, and I do it until I can't do it anymore, until I'm tired or I just feel like I'm too anxious or I'm not in the right headspace anymore, and I need to just take a break. Sometimes I'll just go into a cafe and start writing, and to have a tea or coffee and just relax. And then if I feel like going out again, I will. And what do you say to these people? I was using my dialogue with them was essentially I would go up and I'd play the sort of inquisitive Brit thing, and I think there was enough inquisitiveness from them back for most of them to have said yes. But how are you doing it? What's your approach? What do you say? There's no game. I'm not playing anything. I'm not going up to people with a story anymore. I started off, I'm doing this to alleviate my anxiety and trying to connect people. I don't do that anymore because I've moved past that, but I did move through that. So you might need to go through stages where you do play. But the best feeling for me is literally just, I love making photographs of people. I love connecting to people. I love hearing their stories. I love sharing whatever I can share with them in that moment. I love the connection, and that's all it is. And so I'm genuinely just going out and there's this, I was talking last night to my friend about what is it I'm looking for. It's an attraction. It's such a rare thing, attraction, not even talking about romantic attraction, which is like, unicorn horn rare. But like just attraction, a sort of similar, maybe I'm looking for myself. It's a tribe. I don't know, but I'll walk down the street and I'll just be looking at people and I'll get a feeling there'll be a face or a vibe or something coming off someone, a kind of their presentation of themselves maybe. And that's the person I'll photograph or want to, or stop to ask them. And it's so, it's not specific, and it changes all the time.
Does anybody intimidate you? Are you intimidated by any kind of person or any situation? Or have you really moved past that as well?
I'm less intimidated now, but I still get it occasionally. But like when I was in Soho a couple days ago, and I photographed that man carrying his groceries.
Yeah.
And he was quite an imposing, larger alpha white male.
Yeah.
And I've had bad experiences with white males, so I have that circuitry set up in my brain. I'm working on diffusing it. I was assaulted by a white man, an older man, a couple of years ago, and I confronted him about it, and we're good. Like, it's a good story.
Mm.
But that circuitry set up, one of the things I said to him is, I said, because you've done this, I now trust all men less. And that's what you did for the world by doing what you did. Now it's everyone. Everyone pays for your bad behavior. And it's kind of like this guy, it totally intimidated me. He tapped into that circuit, but I needed to make that picture of him with his bulging bags, not because I was catching him in the act, but because it was representing this feeling and thought I had about this hoarding that's going on, this cowardly, selfish, panic-driven, anti-tribal, anti-social behavior that's scarier than this virus, I think.
Yeah.
And so I didn't let him intimidate me. I took a shot, I missed. He moved, I moved with him. His eye line got blocked by a sign, and I took that as an opportunity to really think about my position. And when he emerged, because I saw which way he was going, I just got him. And he stopped and he said, "You can't be taking photographs of me in the street." And I know better than to back down and say sorry to somebody like that who's coming at me with that much aggression. I was obviously lucky. It could have been a bad situation, but I just looked at him and I said, it's a public space with no feeling, no emotion, no anger. I said, it's a public space, as solid as I possibly can. And I walked past him. I held his eyes. I held his gaze. I held my calm. And I walked on, and I could feel his eyes in the back of my head. And I turned around, and he was standing in the street looking at me. And I just looked at him. And I didn't look at him with hatred or anger. I just looked at him, and I walked on. And that was that. And then I posted that photograph and got to write about this situation. And it's not about this man, because I don't know what he's doing. He's just buying groceries. He might have been shopping for a week. It's totally legit to go out and buy shopping for a week. I do it every day. But it represented the way he looked, the way the bags were bulging. It just represented something. So I put a mask on him because I didn't want to. It's not about his face. It's not about his identity. It's a representation of an idea. And intimidation. I'm on a tangent a bit, but intimidation. Of course, I get intimidated by people.
Now I can't imagine you'd have made a photograph like that even 3-4 years ago, or would
Never.
you have? No.
No way. There would be no way I would have been able to be prepared to do that. That's a lot of work, a lot of practice, a lot of thinking, a lot of evaluating, a lot of experience. I've learned that when I get aggressed, especially by certain types of men on the street or women, I know that I have to act differently in every situation. It's all communication. I have to adapt quickly. I can't have one setting and just go with my setting. I have to change and figure out the ground I'm standing on with the person. And that's why there's no easy answer for how do you do this.
No. What are you going to do during this time? I mean, I don't know whether we're going to have lockdown, whether it's going to make it, if we have lockdown, that means you have to have a press card to be on the street.
I've got one.
You got one? Perfect. What are you going to do?
The first thing is I'm going to take it day by day. And I love having a plan. It's like when I go on a motorcycle trip. I love having a destination and then or plan, and then I love abandoning that plan. I like to have a plan and then not have a plan. I'm very kind of like, I don't know, it's like British Icelandic. Like, there's no plan because the weather changes all the time in Iceland. Trying to have a picnic in Iceland, forget it. Nobody has a picnic in Iceland. Okay, it's like it's gonna hail, and you never know when.
Yeah.
So there's no plan, and I learned that there, and I learned to get comfortable with no plan. It's not my default setting. My default setting is like almost not quite Swedish, where they're talking about having a coffee in week 32.
Yeah.
But it's not that. But I like a calendar. I like to know what's going to happen, or at least to know the prediction. So I have an idea. I'm working on my 2019 collection, book.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Stranger Than Fiction. And it's a compilation of stories and photographs from last year and some from this year and behind the scenes notes and quotes and just inspiration. I'm going to be working on that. I'm going to be hanging out on Discord. I think at the moment I picked 9 p.m. every night at 9 p.m. for, maybe a half an hour just to, see what's going on. People can check in. We can talk about photography. We can talk about whatever's going on. I'm going to be reading. I've got a stack of books. I've got to get that I want to get through. I'm going to be exercising. Like after this, I'm going to go for a run.
Yeah.
I did yoga this morning when I woke up. I had my breakfast, made sure I ate something. The urge often with me is to get up and start working.
Yeah, me too.
And I need to feed myself first. I need to take care of my body, and then it takes care of me.
Yeah.
And I think what happens a lot of like people, especially who get ill, is that they're not taking care of their physical bodies. They're sitting in chairs all day at offices. They're not exercising. They're not eating right. And they wonder why they feel like shit. You have to take care. Your body and your mind are not separate things. They're totally connected.
And I think you also have to give yourself an amount of time. One of the hardest things about working from home, and here we are, a lot of us now all working from home, is to be able to say, look, I know you don't like structure so much, but that's when I'm going to work, and that's when I'm going to put that work down, because now I need to either go look after myself or be with the children, be with my partner. And I think this is going to be really important to find those divides.
For sure. I mean, but you have to understand that I've been working from home for like 20 years.
Yeah.
I've been freelance for most of my career. I have had 3 full-time jobs in my life, and all of them drove me to the brink of insanity. And so I need to have this kind of flexible structure. And I know what I need to get done in a day. And it's constantly this process of refining my discipline. And I need to get more disciplined with my time. And if I don't, nothing gets done. And I don't produce the things I need to produce. And I have a long list of things that I need to do. I have 2 jobs that are in my inbox at the moment that I need to prioritize and get out before I can do my book. It's just this constant balance. It's just juggling. So I think if you're not used to working from home, I think a schedule is a really great idea, because I improvise everything. I have this kind of like sense of what is, and I don't hold it too tightly. I just get a feeling for it, and I kind of shuffle it around as I need to. So it's not regimented, except for the fact that I try to get to bed before 10 o'clock. And I try to, I exercise when I wake up in the morning and I eat. But sometimes I do my exercise in the afternoon. If I really just can't face exercising in the morning, I don't brutalize myself. I listen. Like today I'm tired.
Yeah.
So I didn't get up and exercise. I just did yoga, and that was enough. All of us are like these children that have been controlled up until the age of 17, 18 by our parents and our society and our schooling. And we have 2 voices in our head. We have those voices, that voice, that authority voice or the superego. And then we have us. I don't even call it the superego, but we just have the authority voice, and then we have ourselves, the animal. And I think it's really all about developing that inner animal voice, the one that's always been with you, and listening to the creature and what it needs, because it'll tell you what it needs. And mine used to be so quiet I couldn't even hear it. And the more I've tuned into it, the louder it's gotten. And so it's the one that says, hey, like I just really can't today. And I say, okay, like we're not going to do that today. Today is not a day. I'm working from home. Today is not a day to work. Today I'm going to go to a museum. And that is the joy of self-employment and working from home. Because today I get to go and do whatever I want. I don't have a boss to tell me I can't. I am the boss. I am in charge of making sure I get what I need, and I don't have to submit my will to some authoritarian structure that is there because it's there. Don't play with your food.